Hey, listeners, thanks for joining us today on the Rise, what am I even calling this? Videocast podcast. Today
Yeah.
I have Dr. Diana Husk with me, and it's a pleasure because not only did I start graduate school, doctorate school with Diana, I finished with her, and we still
hmm
run together postdoctorate because we're studying some of the same stuff with
Yep.
pregnancy and pediatrics. So Diana was born in Florida, raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, moved to Cumming, Georgia in high school, and that's pretty close to where she went to college at
Mhm.
Valdosta State. That's where she did
Yep.
her undergraduate, which she says is as far away from her hometown as she could get without leaving in-state tuition. And then she went to Life University in Atlanta with me, where we
hmm
graduated with our doctorates in chiropractic in 2017.
Yep.
And she's Webster certified, which means she knows a lot about working with pregnant women in a very safe and
hmm
effective manner. She's working on her certification through the ICPA, which is the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, if I said that right, which
hmm
gives you a lot of knowledge and tools to be able to help kiddos. She also uses the applied kinesiology technique and the neuroemotional technique, which is, I would say there's a very high demand for it and not a lot of practitioners who really know what to do in that arena. So she's a
Yep.
gem in her own way. She also knows a whole lot about clean living. And that's why I brought her on
Mhm.
today, because Diana, I'd love for you to share with us today your knowledge about how to, not mess up your body so much with chemicals and things that are very easy to mess your body up. So thanks for being on
Yeah,
with us.
of course. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Why don't you talk a little bit about, you know, the U.S. ingredient standards and why we might be struggling so much with things like endocrine problems or cancer and things like that.
Yes. So, speaking from personal experience, I used to think that if I went into a Whole Foods or a Target and something was being sold on the shelf, that it was safe for me to take home and use for myself and for my family. And unfortunately, that's not true. That is one of the least regulated industries within the United States. Um, Actually, less than 10% of the thousands and thousands of ingredients that are used within our products are even tested for safety. And even when some of them, when they come back and say they're not safe, they're still used. So, and it's actually been over 80 years since a federal law was passed in the United States in regards to personal care products. Which is so crazy because it has evolved so much and so many new ingredients are coming out and things like that and new products. And there's no laws to govern those and how they market to us, the ingredients they use, and everything.
That's
So,
crazy. You'd think at least the marketing would have, some standards, but we're going to talk a little bit about that too. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So without getting ahead of ourselves, what is there any specific facts that you know about, the United States and how we're actually like really missing the mark when it comes to ingredient standards and like policing it? Like I know you threw a couple things out, like less than 10% tested for safety. You said what, 80
hmm
years since the law has been passed?
Yep.
Like what does it take to put something on the shelf or to like have the FDA approve it, you know?
So it actually not a lot. So there's really no laws that govern that. So in comparison to say like Europe and the European Union, they ban over 1,000, almost about 1,300 ingredients. And the United States bans 11. And so there's a huge disconnect. And, when you're talking about FDA approval and things like that, as long as it doesn't contain 11 of those ingredients,
You're good.
it can contain thousands of other toxic ones and be put on the shelves. There's really no standard. And that is what is so disheartening.
So what does Europe know that we don't? How did they create this list and what research is it based on? Do you know?
I don't know how they put that all into law. I don't honestly know a lot about Europe and the way that they pass laws and things like that and how it's different from the United States. Um, but I do know that it's based on a lot of research. So there's lots of things that we know cause cancer, and there's things that we know cause endocrine disruption and things that cause allergies and eczema and things like that. And so we have a lot of science, and there's the law has not cut up to that, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Any idea or opinion as to why that's we don't keep up to the with the times here in the US?
Money.
Maybe so.
Money. Follow the paper trail.
Yeah.
Just like with anything else. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry every single year in the United States. And, you know, it is, you know, benefits our economy in certain ways. And I think that, you know, there's not really been anybody to stand up, you know, as far as in our, you know, Senate and in our, you know, any of our legislators, and demand this for us. There was actually a bill introduced last month that would make it difficult for manufacturers to use some of these misleading marketing terms, such as like ingredient labels for like fragrance or natural fragrance. That can mean up to 2,000 different chemicals, but it's all under the umbrella of fragrance. And so that would outlaw the use of that word. Yeah, so they would have to fully disclose what that is.
Cool.
And so
that's
hopefully
awesome.
that moves into, that's the first thing that's made the floor in 80 years. So I'm praying for that, and we're supporting that financially too. So we're hoping to move that through.
That's probably one of the really key things to look for. You might see a greenwash product, which why don't you explain what greenwashing is and what you should actually look for on an ingredient list, because it might have this green label. The brand name might be organic, which doesn't mean it might be like organic something, and then it has this baby on the front, and then on the back, like you see like a couple things, and then the last ingredient on that list is fragrance or something. And what can actually be hidden in that? You want to talk a little bit about greenwashing?
Yeah, so greenwashing is kind of been coined as just basically to mean that a product that has been misled into making the buyer think that it is a safe product to use, or that it's green, or that it's clean. You know, I think a easy way to spot a greenwash product is to look for kind of keywords. So if it's got like a green leaf on the front and it says it's non-toxic and all natural and, you know, paraben free and botanical and all of these like kind of sexy words that don't really mean anything, those are kind of like instant, like I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's not really what it is. Because actually those terms aren't even regulated. So somebody can say something's all natural and it's not, and there's no stopping it from being on the shelves like that.
Yeah.
So I also recommend some, like, I call them my heavy hitters, certain ingredients that are, you know, considered greenwashed, like parabens. So you'll see in a lot of like cleaner products, they'll have parabens in them, and that's our most widely used preservative in our personal care products. And it's a super, super dangerous chemical. And usually there'll be several in one product. So it'll say like methylparaben or ethylparaben or butylparaben, or it'll have all of them. So if I see anything with paraben, it's gone. If I see anything with fragrance or natural fragrance, it's gone. If I see something with artificial dyes or perfumes or synthetic coloring, if I see phenoxyethanol, if I see really anything that's you know, kind of, even there's one that I get asked about a lot. It's called Japanese honeysuckle, and that sounds super, super safe, but it has the same molecular structure as a paraben, so it acts as a paraben in the body. And so if I see like certain little ingredients that I just kind of know about, then it's just a hard pass for me. It's not a safe product.
And isn't it crazy how when you find that keyword, you could just go to any store and look at it's like, oh my gosh, this too? Like, I feel like you should be the most cautious in the little green areas of the store. Like, we don't have Kroger in Louisiana, but when we would go to Kroger when I lived in Georgia, and nothing against Kroger, I love Kroger, but we'd go to there's a certain area where there's like some crunchy hippie stuff, right?
Yep, and I know that you're talking about.
In marketing gear, that's where you need to really tread with caution, because it all looks great, and then they hide it in some term like fragrance or honey, whatever you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you know as far as like the endocrine disrupting chemicals and what that's actually doing to the endocrine system. And just remember that, you know, your listener probably has no knowledge of what a pituitary gland is.
I'll try.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about what it does and what to look for.
Yeah, we just talked about parabens. That's an endocrine disruptor. So your endocrine system, in layman's terms, is your hormone system. So it is what kind of controls all of your hormones within your body. And when you call something an endocrine disruptor, that basically just means that that ingredient or that process is toxic to that system. And a lot of people, in my opinion, that I've come across, when they say endocrine or hormone, you're thinking estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and you're forgetting that there are, glands within your brain. There are your pancreas and your pineal gland and your thyroid. Are all part of that endocrine system. And so, whenever something disrupts that system, it creates a toxicity within your body, and it basically makes your body work harder than it has to. And, that depletes energy. And, that's your adrenal glands, which are what helps to give you energy, are also part of your endocrine system. And so when you're constantly creating toxicity within that system, you're basically depriving your body of the energy it needs to have other functions like digestion and brain function and, sustained energy throughout the day. And so, like I said, parabens is, the most widely used preservative in our products. And that is so incredibly toxic to our endocrine system. And whenever you have toxicity within your endocrine system, as you probably know, Brennan, that drastically increases your risk of cancer.
Absolutely. And that's a big one. So like if these estrogen levels are out of whack, and this is not just a female thing, this is a male thing, and then we're not just talking about like male breast cancer, but if a male has higher levels of estrogen, there's going to be other things that are out of whack as a result of that. And it really manifests in an awful way in the body. And I think it's probably harder for men to wrap their mind around it because we just think, oh, what's this one swipe of a deodorant stick going to do? But like you said, like you only have so much capacity for regenerating your cells and to express health.
Right.
If you're using all that trying to fight garbage,
inflammation, and
rather than using that energy for optimal function, then you're just running a marathon with a backpack full of rocks on, as I like to say to my practice members. But it does have an accumulative effect, if that's a word.
It does. And a lot of these ingredients they call them bioaccumulative. So, they stick around in the body. It's not like you put some lotion on in the morning and the toxicity is gone by night. It compounds daily. And the average woman in America uses about 515 different chemicals on her skin, her largest, most permeable organ, every single day. And they bioaccumulate. And then we wonder why women are so unhealthy and why we have so many hormone problems and fertility issues and estrogen-driven cancers. And, it's because, in my opinion, one of the huge factors is our environment. The American Cancer Society agrees that 95% of cancer is caused by our environment, not our genetics. And what's our environment?
That's very interesting you bring that up.
What we put on our skin, what we smell around us all day. That's our environment. And so,
And so when I have new practice members or patients who come in and they start care here, they get to hear me talk for 30 minutes about health. And we briefly cover that concept, but like you're talking about the epigenome, the epigenetics. So we know that there are certain chemicals, certain environmental triggers that could take a breast cancer gene and turn it on. And then there's other things that you can be doing for your body that, maybe you do have the BRCA gene and we're going to flip that off.
Exactly.
And without getting too much into the chemistry behind that, basically what we know is that the majority of our health outcomes come from nurture, not nature. When the Human Genome Project came out, we determined that there was a certain number of genes. You have any idea how many it is? It's like 10,000 or 17,000. But then all the variations of how these genes express themselves has nothing to do with the genotype. It has everything to do with the phenotype and how it expresses, right? That's why two bioidentical twins with the identical genome can look totally different at 40. And this one is diabetic and overweight and has all these chronic conditions. And this one is running marathons with no pain. What's the difference there? It's what the body has been exposed to and the bioaccumulation that you're talking about over the years. Super cool. Can you talk about thyroid a little bit more? Because there's a lot of thyroid problems in this country, but especially in my pocket of the country. And I feel like it's kind of a concept that's overlooked and we don't really know what to do about it. You want
Yeah.
to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so our thyroid does a lot more than most people probably think. It helps with growth and development, protein synthesis. It's responsible for stabilizing your mood and your metabolic function, like your body weight, how you breathe, your heart rate, your body temperature, and even your central nervous system, which is what controls everything in your entire body. So, that's something that is super, super important to keep in balance so that we don't end up having these issues, because a lot of women, that I speak to, they're like, I have so much trouble losing weight. No matter what diet I try, no matter how many calories I restrict or how much I exercise, I can't lose the weight. And that is always, to me, thyroid. It's brain and thyroid. And, I ask them, well, what products are you using? And they're always like, what is that? Yeah. What does that have to do with anything? And I'm like, well, it has everything to do with it, because, your thyroid is what helps control your weight and your heart rate and how you burn calories with your body temperature. And so if that system is dysregulated, then, it's going to be extremely difficult to lose the weight no matter what you do.
Makes a lot of sense. Can you maybe talk about some strategies? Because if our listeners have hung in with us this far, what are like some action steps that we can use, whether it's when we're making our shopping list, or if we're just trying to maybe reduce the chemical exposure that we are currently under? What are some things we can do?
So what I always say is, as far as food, is to buy raw organic foods as much as possible. That greatly decreases our glyphosate exposure. And we know that glyphosate is directly linked to cancer. And so I think that is super, super important. And there are 2 apps that are free to download in the App Store. One is called Think Dirty, and one is called Healthy Living by the EWG, the Environmental Working Group. In my personal opinion, neither are the end-all, be-all. There are a few disagreements that I personally have with some of their rating systems, but they are an amazing resource for beginners. I think that, you're able to scan products and it'll give you a rating of toxicity. And, it's super, super helpful. When I first downloaded those, I was going in my bathroom and I was like, trying to figure out, what to throw away and what to keep. Long story short, everything I pretty much need to throw away. But, those are really, really good resources. And then I always say to swap out what I like to call the heavy hitters. And those are things that you use the most often that cover the most surface area of your body. So like your body lotion, or like if you're a nurse, it's your hand sanitizer and your hand lotion, things like that. Just kind of think in your brain, what do you use the most often? And I would swap those out. Or you can, kind of wait until you run out of some products and then just replace them with the toxin-free option, which is what I personally did. There were a few things that I just got rid of because I was like, I can't keep doing this. But then some things I was like, well, can't really, just dump everything and clean everything out at once. So once I ran out of something, I replaced it with something safe. And then the product that I would say that is the most dangerous, in my personal opinion, is our deodorant. Everybody
uses deodorant so dangerous? People know it has aluminum and things like that, but why is it a problem? And what do we? Let me just say this: aluminum, it's an antiperspirant, right? So it's not the deodorizing component; it's the part that makes you stop sweating that makes you stink. Which, first of all, if you're not allowing your body to complete a process that it is designed to complete, that's red flag number 1. So maybe I don't want to stink. I'm okay with disrupting that part of my body so that I don't stink. Okay, I get where you're coming, especially my guys, because my guys are like, man, I tried the stuff and I just stink, and I get it, because if I don't put some type of aluminum or antiperspirant and I still sweat, doesn't matter what you put under there, it still stinks. So I'm personally still in that I guess exploratory phase of like different brands that are cleaner, that don't have the antiperspirant or the aluminum, to find something that actually works. And I think that's a struggle that a lot of people have, or it ends up being some type of like rock formation cement that glues under your pits. It's not convenient. So do you have like some easy suggestions that people can do with the deodorant?
Yeah, so deodorant's difficult because it is such a personal preference. I personally, went through tons of trial and error. And I really like a brand called Primally Pure. They have a charcoal deodorant that is amazing. It is not antiperspirant and 100% toxin free. And I really, really love their mission. So that's the brand that I have found. There are a few other brands that are safe, but they're more personal preference as to what kind of works best for you. But, that is something that I just think is incredibly important to at least buy a safer option. Especially for women, we shave under our arms and that opens the pores. And then we immediately throw this toxic junk under there. And then we put on our bras that choke our lymphatic system from being able to cleanse ourselves of these toxins. And, it's in our breast area, and a lot of these deodorants have parabens. I know I've said paraben a lot. I really hate them if you can't tell.
What's your biopsy say? Look at your biopsy. What are the suspicions have in them,
Yeah, so 99% of breast cancer tumors that have been tested have been positive for parabens.
Sure, and we don't know for sure.
And it's crazy.
Right, we don't know for sure if that's a thing,
right.
But there sure is a lot of consistency with it to start.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
So here's the thing. I just tried, since we're on the deodorant topic, the Schmidt's brand. Have you seen that one? And I don't know if you would consider it greenwashed or whatever, but this is just to give an example. I go and it doesn't have antiperspirant. It says aluminum free on it. And so immediately, if people are listening to this question, that's what they go looking for at the store. If it's a change they want to make. What happens when you flip it on the back and look at it? Last ingredients, natural fragrance. So you have to figure out how to get all of the pieces together. And I think that's probably the hard part. Do you even recommend going to stores, or is this something that you need to order offline?
I personally purchase most of mine online just because I've kind of found the products that I like and that I use the most often and that perform the best for me. But there are safe options. Dr. Bronner's across the board, that entire line is a wonderful line of products. But that's honestly, as far as store-bought that I can think of, that is an entire line that is all safe. There's like some 7th generation that's safe and some honest company that's safe, but they're not all safe. So that's why I say, I think that if you can memorize like a few of the heavy hitter like ingredients like parabens and phenoxyethanol and Japanese honeysuckle and talc and things like that, there's probably 10 that I would say just try and like just straight up memorize, like go back to school and just like memorize, get that memory down. And if you see it, it's gone. Like those are like hard pass for me. Like you said, like Schmidt's was actually recently bought out and they didn't used to have that in them. And now they do. So that's what unfortunately happens when big companies buy small companies. Yeah,
and you've got to keep an eye out for that. So don't just assume that, oh, Dr. Diana says Dr. Bronner's is good. 2 years from now, they get bought out by a $50 million company and now they're dirty again.
And I got called out a little bit in my community one time because I recommended a Cure. A Cure used to be, and I used that since college, just an across the board safe option. And I was recommending their makeup removing wipes, and somebody had said, oh my gosh, well, I noticed that there's fragrance and I think I forget what other ingredient in there that I say not to use. And she sent me a picture and I was like, oh my gosh. And I went and looked and they had rebranded all of their things with new ingredients. So anytime you see a product that you use for a long time with a different label, like it looks new and different and pretty and rebranded, that's usually a good time for them to switch up those labels. And so, so I was like,
dang it. Brand names. Don't just follow the brand names that you think are good or that look good, right? That's the greenwashing. Know your chemicals, at least the top 10, like you're saying, and know how to read a label so that you don't put crap in your body. So easy action steps, either the Think Dirty app or what's the EWG app? Is there a name for that?
It's the Healthy Living. It's like Healthy Living by EWG, I think.
And those are not like a total fix for this, but it's a great way to start. Just go scan stuff in the bathroom. I know for women, especially, you like the Crunchy brand for makeup and makeup remover and stuff like that. So that's something ladies can look into. What about like
Yeah.
female hygienic products? Lola is a brand. Is that something that you recommend?
Yep, that is, yep. Lola is a great organic brand. There's also one called L Organic that's sold at Target. That's a good brand.
Just the letter L.
Yep, just
Organic.
L. It's like an L period organic. And those are
Is it
organic hygiene
hidden?
products.
Is it hidden at the bottom of the shelf with only like 2 boxes and like
Yes.
totally overwhelmed? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so look for
Yep.
that. Look for that. Can you do us a favor and
Yep.
share the master list? You have a master list, right?
Oh,
That's something you can do. If not, that's okay.
that's not something. That's something that's exclusive for the members of my community that I feel
Here
like
you
it's
go.
for
So,
my community.
shameless plug.
I know.
Perfect lead in. Dr. Diana is somebody that, for those of you who are listening, is somebody that I refer to, and it's
Mhm.
because she has an online resource for members only. And if you are a member, you can
Yep.
have access to a lot more detailed information about this if it's something that
Yes.
you're interested. Why don't you tell listeners how to get there? And that's what I'll post at the bottom.
Yep. So I'll just share the link. It's just facebook.com/groups/Dr. Diana Husk, Dr. Diana Husk, HUSK. And it's called Wholesome Health. And, you know, that's where I usually try and post at least once or twice a day, just some educational content. I do, like you had talked about, I do a thing called Ditch and Switch, where I talk about a popular product and what you can switch to. And like you said, I have a master list of tried and true products for lots of different areas, from shampoo to makeup to car wash products and laundry
Which
detergent.
is constantly evolving,
And
right?
yes, it's constantly evolving, and it's something I'm really, really proud of that I worked really hard on. That's a resource. And also it's a resource for women just to come and ask questions. You know, if you're not sure, I always want to make myself available for women. So you can ask in the group. You're welcome to private message me or friend me on Facebook. And I would love to help, you know, wherever you're at, meet you where you're at.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being such an amazing resource and doing the dirty work that nobody else like myself wants to do.
Thank you.
Is there anything you wanted to add before we concluded?
I don't think so. Thank
Yeah,
you for
I think
having
so.
me. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. It's been a
Yeah,
minute
I know.
since our last seminar.
Yeah, I'll catch you at the next one.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
Sounds
have a good weekend, and I will see you
you.
soon, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Dr. Kelly.